In this video, we're going to look at part 2 of section A, which we've already looked at in the previous video, but we're going to finish off this section during this video. So last time, what we looked at was area assessment 1 or assessment objective 1. We looked at section A, which was identifying and investigating design possibilities, and we mentioned that it's out of 10 marks. Now, we talked about those 10 marks being a small part of the 100 that the total NEA is out of, but we talked about how it needs to be correct and it needs to be done right in order to access the later marks. Now, in this project example that I've come up with, we talked about doing this safe and comfortable home. The context given to me was providing a safe and comfortable home. And I decided from my client interview and my client profile, my client interview, that my client wants a need where for a storage product that the kids could store their Lego in. Now, at the end of the video, we talked about doing a research plan and the importance of doing a research plan in the sense of making sure the examiner understands and you're telling the examiner what you are doing next. What have you learned and what you're going to move on to. And I also mentioned that you don't have to do this, but I did a bit of a mind map to sort of explain where my mind currently was at. What kind of things were going through my mind once my client had told me they wanted this Lego storage, where my mind was at when I got there. So we're going to focus on these keywords. So this section here is the work of others section that we need to complete today. So the comprehensive investigation in band 9 to 10 marks, whereas the 6 to 8 marks talks about a detailed investigation and the 3 to 5 marks talk about some investigation. So again, it's all down to the wording of it, and it depends how much detail you are willing to go into on each product in order to give you some good ideas moving forward. So what I want to focus on is this comprehensive investigation, so a detailed investigation of people's work that is going to give me ideas or help me form my ideas later on. That's what the exam board is looking for. So what does it look like? Well, before we get there, we need to talk about this primary versus secondary research, because this research is going to go on and on and on through your whole folder. It's not going to be just the first 6 pages and then you never research again. The research is going to be ongoing throughout the whole project. Now, primary research is all about you gathering data yourself. So this could be something like going on the high street doing a survey. You've all done a client interview, which is you gathering data. So you've done a little bit of primary research, but there are other methods of doing primary research as well. I've also need to look at secondary research. So this is things like going on the internet, looking in books, maybe analysing data that other people have already done, etc, etc. So I'm looking at both primary and secondary research, and you need to make sure that you are doing both primary and secondary research as well. Now, a lot of students get to this section here and they go, right, sir, what do I need to do next? And obviously this is the NEA. I can't answer that question. You need to come up with this yourself. So the best way that I've found to answer this is you need to ask yourself that question. What do you need to know before you can begin designing? So before you can put pen to paper or pencil to paper, you need to know certain things. Now, you've already interviewed your clients, so you know roughly what they want, but you need to do some more research around that before you start coming up with these initial ideas. So what I've done is I actually did a page where I was planning my research. So I've taken my research plan. So you guys already have seen this. I've taken my research plan from a previous page and simply left it on this page. I've explained the importance of why I need to research. And then what I've done is I've explained what the problem is in detail, because that then allows me to get my head around what the problem really is. And then I've explained how does it fit the context. So I'm really gone into detail there explaining how this problem or this potential product would meet the context of providing a safe and comfortable home. And above that, I've explained what type of research I'm planning to do, how and where I'm trying to find the information out, and notice how I've got primary and secondary labelled so I know which type of research I need to do and I am going to do. And then I've sort of planned out and told the examiner what I'm actually trying to find out when I'm doing that research. I'm not just doing the research for the sake of doing research. I'm trying to find something out. So I've got it nice and clear on this page, what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, what the problem is, and how does it fit the context. Nice and simple. So for this Lego storage, I've decided to look at what already cyber storage units, especially for Lego, are already on the market. So I've done 2 pages. So I've done one page like that and another page like that. Now you can see the range of products I've looked at, that it's quite wide. I'm not just looking at just Lego storage. I'm looking at, for example, the Kallax unit, which is on IKEA. I'm looking at some sort of storage racking that goes on the wall. I'm looking at maybe even a coffee table. How do they store things in a coffee table to keep things nice, neat and tidy? So between these 2 pages, I've covered quite a wide base. I've got 2 traditional Lego storage. I've got even went as far as a classroom style storage, because I'm trying to find out what the best method is that my client wants to store their products. Now, again, you don't need to lay out your page like this. You can lay it out however you want to. These 2 pages are very similar because, you know, it's my style of working. You will have your own style of working. The biggest thing I want to focus on is that, number one, there is no specific way that you need to analyze products. You are simply reviewing almost what's already on the market to find out their strengths and weaknesses. Whatever method that takes is up to you. So I've done it in a kind of like an aesthetics, cost and size and function sort of way. And then I've also sought some client feedback on each individual product. Now, you can do it however you want to, but you need to, again, think about that magic word, comprehensive investigation of others' work. So I've gone into quite a lot of detail here. It's up to you how much detail you go into, depending on which band you're actually aiming to achieve. Now, the last thing you'll notice on both these pages is I've got this green box at the bottom where it says, what have I learned? Now, again, a big part of the NEA is this constant review of where you're at. It's this ongoing conclusion, this ongoing evaluation, almost on every page, but not always on every page, but you're kind of explaining, this is what I've learned, this is why it's relevant, and this is what I'm going to go do next. Because you're always got to have that kind of idea. So at the end of my existing product research, this is what I've learned, this is what my client has sort of told me, this is what I'm going to do with that information, and this is what I'm going to do next. So you need to have some way of summing that information up almost at the end of every section. So existing products, it can be as detailed or as little detail as possible, or as much as you want. It's entirely up to you. Your range or how many existing products, again, there is no set answer to that because everyone's is going to be different. I've done 6 because I think that's a decent amount. I mean, I wouldn't be doing 1 or 2 existing products and calling it a day, because you're not going to learn anything from 1 or 2 existing products. You're going to learn from, 6 or more kind of style. You might want to do them all on one page. You might want to do more of an interview style thing where you've got these products physically in front of your client and you're interviewing them and they're getting hands-on experience. You've got to think about that primary versus secondary research at the moment. All this research is secondary. Arguably, my client feedback is primary because I've actually had these images on the computer in front of my client and gone, right, what do you think about this? Tell me your thoughts. And I've written down what they think. But I could have actually bought some of these products or rented them or found them from in the loft or in the garden or shed or whatever, and taken them to my client and said, look, have a play with them, spend half an hour with them, tell me what you think. And that then gives me that specific answer then. So again, look, just to sum up section A, I've done the design problems and possibilities. I've identified through a mind map what possibilities there are. I've identified clearly my user and client, depending on which one it is. I've explained their needs and wants, and I've justified these. I've then gone on and comprehensively investigated the work of others. The last thing I need to do is these 2 sections at the bottom. So we'll ignore this one. Okay, we're going to ignore that middle one. What we're going to look at is this bottom one. It's the investigation of design possibilities throughout the project. And it's really important you understand that there needs to be ongoing research through the whole project. It can't just be, this is my research section, I'm moving on. It's I've done a little bit of research, Now I'm going to move on to some ideas. And now I've done some ideas, I'm going to spoke to my client. My client has said they like this. So I'm going to do some more research based around that. I'm then going to come up with some more ideas again, go back to my client. And you're in this kind of constant review, what we call iterations, where you've got version 1, you speak some feedback, you improve it, you get version 2, you improve it, you get version 3, etc., etc. So it's really important you understand that this research is not just in one section. Now, what I've done personally, talking of Lego, I've followed my research plan and I've done other bits of research as well. You don't have to do this right now, because arguably I could have come up with some designs first and then done this research. But I decided to do this research now. So I've explained what Lego is. I've got some basic blocks and sizes and things, so I know how big they are and what kind of size they all come in. I've looked at how you might purchase the blocks. I've looked at, base plates and things like that, and minifigures. And again, there it is. What have I learned at the bottom? I've learned this. My client thinks this. I'm now going to do this. So I'm always evaluating on and on. So let me just bring back to the mark scheme again. There's this. Done this, I've done this, now I need to do this extensive research throughout my project. So again, that's that individual list. What research do you need to do before you can start designing? Now, there are many different ways of producing research. This is another method of producing research. You can see this person's talking about board games. They've got an introduction at the top. They've got some very, very sort of limited analysis. They've got some positives and negatives. Is it comprehensive? Well, I'll leave that up to you to make a decision. But more importantly, they've spoke to their client based around that specific product. The same on this one. They've got the main information, some positives and negatives, and they spoke to their client. Now, the interesting thing this person has done is they've actually ticked off that first bit of the mark scheme where it's saying it's helped you inform ideas, because they've actually started sketching some parts of their idea or a potential idea that they've drawn inspiration from this product. So you can see that this product has pull-out drawers or pull-out sections for different games. This person has thought about doing something similar. This person's talked about storing different puzzle pieces. Oh, hang on, there's 2 different ways I could do that actually. So they're taking their research and they're learning from it and applying it to inform their ideas. So there are many different ways of doing it. Again, this person has decided to do some extra research before they speak to their client or before they start coming up with ideas based around child seats and types of research in terms of comfort when travelling. So again, there is no set list of research. There is no set amount of research. What you've got here is different types of research that tick off that mark scheme as best as possible for section A. Now, it's really important that you focus on the mark scheme. It's really important that you do both primary research and secondary research throughout your project. Okay, it can't just be in this first section. It's got to be throughout the project. Now, let me just bring the mark scheme back up one last time. So I would do a checklist at this point. Have you done this section? Have you done this section? Have you done this section? And have you got a plan on what you're going to do for this last section at the bottom? That's really important for section A. Once you've done that, we can then start moving on to section B. Focus on it. It's not as hard as it looks. Good luck.